Hey there, my lovely ghosts and ghoulies. I've got a chilling tale for you today that'll make your spine tingle and your mind race. We're diving screaming, headfirst, into the mysterious disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers from the Flannan Isles in 1900. It's a story that's haunted Scotland for over a century, and trust me, it's about to haunt you too. Welcome to You Should Be Scared. I'm your host, Taylor Davies, and this is your number one destination for everything mysterious and unexplained. Picture this. It's December 15th, 1900. The transatlantic steamer Archtor is cruising past the Flannan Isles and something's off. The crew noted that the lighthouse was not operational even though it was poor conditions. They informed the Northern Lighthouse Board when they returned to land. Fast forward a few days and the Northern Lighthouse Board sends a relief vessel, the Hesperus, to check things out. Captain Jim Harvey, probably feeling like he's in a real-life horror movie, signals with the ship's horn and fires a flare. But there's no response. It's like the island has gone silent. Cue the creepy music, folks, because this is where things get really weird. So they send this poor guy Joseph Moore to investigate. And let me tell you, Moore probably wished he'd called in sick that day. He steps onto the island and immediately gets hit with this sense of dread. Moore reaches the lighthouse and finds the door unlocked. Inside, it's like everyone just vanished. There's half-eaten food on the table, an overturned chair, and 2 of the 3 oilskin coats are missing. But here's the kicker. The island shows signs of being hit by a massive storm. We're talking smashed supply boxes, bent iron railings, and even a 1-ton rock just gone, like poof, disappeared into thin air. A shaken Captain Harvey sent a telegram to the Northern Lighthouse Board dated December 26th, 1900, stating,
"A dreadful accident has happened at the Flannans. The 3 keepers, Ducat, Marshall, and the Occasional, have disappeared from the island. The clocks were stopped, and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows. They must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane."
Now this is where things get really fun. Because whenever there's an unsolved mystery, people love to come up with the wildest theories. First up, we've got the classic haunted island theory. Any respectable, remote, and weather-beaten island would have to have ghosts, right? But was it haunted before or after the keepers' disappearance? The keepers, or perhaps the spirits who haunted them to their deaths, may be responsible for the sound of spectral voices that island residents claim to have heard since the keepers' disappearances. But wait, there's more. How about we throw some Celtic folklore into the mix? We've got theories about the little people or fairies being involved. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fairies? Really? But in Celtic tales, these are not your friendly Tinkerbell types. In such stories, there isn't always a clear difference between the dead and the fae. Sometimes dead people are seen dancing in fairy circles, and fairies are known to strenuously object to buildings on their personal land, which might, presumably, include an island like this one. Okay, let's bring it back down to earth for a minute, because sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones inside our own heads. There's a theory that the isolation of the island drove the keepers insane. Some versions of the story mention a logbook with some pretty disturbing entries. The keepers were supposedly uneasy, crying and praying, and one keeper was strangely quiet. The logbook described their uneasiness about storms that from all accounts weren't any worse than they were used to experiencing. Were the keepers hearing voices? Were they experiencing frightful images or dreams? Were they at odds with one another? Had they maybe infuriated a supernatural entity? Now, let's get weird. Because why stop at ghosts and fairies when we can bring aliens into the mix? That's right. Some folks think our lighthouse keepers might have had a close encounter of the abducting kind. Unsolved disappearances on isolated islands make for interesting science fiction stories. Maybe because the landing site was remote, the aliens decided to abduct the keepers, or had the humans built on an island already inhabited by aliens by mistake? Does the island's reputation as a haunted place actually stem from alien visitations? But wait, there's more. What about sea monsters? We're talking giant squids, prehistoric sharks, even the Loch Ness Monster's angry cousin. The ocean is deep and mysterious, folks. Who knows what could be lurking beneath those waves? Also, sea monsters on remote islands have a lot of leeway that monsters in busy places would envy. Isolated monsters can be huge, perhaps as huge as an island itself. Or they could be small, but in great numbers. They might look like people, demons, fish, or any combination of these. They could even be cryptid rather than supernatural, an undiscovered species that humans have not yet learned to guard against because they are so rarely encountered. They could be previously thought to be extinct dinosaurs, such as a giant shark like Megalodon, or a kraken. Or perhaps a flying monster could have an island as a nesting ground. And of course there are always the tempters of sailors such as mermaids and sirens, luring the keepers into the chilly depths. Now, have you heard the saying, hell is other people? Working a challenging job in close quarters on a remote island can undoubtedly cause tensions and possibly even deadly intent, but you don't have to go supernatural. Although the men actually seem to get along well, you could imagine a stressor for them, such as a rival for a lover, a romantic triangle forming between the isolated men, illness or injury, or some kind of stressor back home. Alright, as much as I love a good supernatural theory, it's time to face the music. What about invaders of the human sort? Perhaps other people came ashore with some nefarious purpose. Maybe a pirate who buried treasure on the island. Perhaps a shipwrecked sailor was rescued by the keepers, and the keepers lived to regret their kindness as they were picked off one by a homicidal maniac. The most likely explanation in many people's opinions. Good old Mother Nature throwing a tantrum. What little evidence there is points to a massive storm hitting the island, and, well, the sea can be a cruel mistress. But if that's so, why did all three men leave the lighthouse? They all knew that one man is meant to stay, in case something happens to the other two. What drew that last man out of the lighthouse and to his terrible and unknowable fate? So there you have it, my spooky sausages. The Flannan Isles mystery remains unsolved to this day. Were the keepers victims of a supernatural force, alien abduction, or simply a tragic accident? I'd love to know your opinions on this strange case. Leave me a message in the comments below if you'd be so kind. Also, why not stay with me a little longer by clicking on one of the videos on the screen now? So, although we may never know for sure, one thing is certain. The Lighthouse Keeper's story will continue to haunt us for years to come. Until next time, dear viewer, stay curious, stay cautious, and stay tuned for more unexplained mysteries. And remember, you should be scared.